Lacrosse community, my name is Ryan Berns. I'm the president of Lacrosse Leadership Institute. It's our mission to empower all those that love lacrosse, to recognize the skills you gain from the sport, to ultimately live the life of your dreams. Today, we're so fortunate to be joined by a two-time All-American, MLL national champion, and all-around awesome guy, Nick Tintle. Nick, thank you so much for joining us today. For our community that isn't quite aware of who you are and what you're up to, can you start by sharing how you got involved in lacrosse and a little bit of your journey to where you are today?
Of course. First, thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me on the show. And so my lacrosse journey, it's been a long one. I started in about fourth grade, I would say. I believe fourth grade was my first year playing, and a family friend, Joe DeSimone, owns Lacrosse Unlimited, got me my first stick. I believe it was a Viper, and it was dyed with North Carolina colors and North Carolina logo on it. And that was my first stick growing up. And in the beginning, lacrosse was the most challenging game for me, right? So I played basketball, I played baseball, every sport you could think of. A lot of them came natural to me. I had some God-given talents. I was athletic. I was fast. And lacrosse challenged me. It was a game that I didn't pick up right away. And it's something that's come back to me as I coach now, that it takes time, it takes reps, it takes a lot of effort to get that stick, strong in your hand. So, so it was the most challenging for me. And a little side story is, as I progressed in the lacrosse world, as I got to seventh grade, I had to make the choice to play baseball or lacrosse. And I actually first chose baseball. I told my parents that I was going to play baseball in seventh grade and not play lacrosse. And then last minute, something, I can't even tell you what it was really, but something told me that lacrosse, that I should be doing that. I'm sure a couple coaches came back in my life and said, if you play baseball, it's going to be a big mistake. So I decided to play lacrosse in seventh grade, and the rest is history. I mean, seventh grade is when it really clicked for me. My mom used to walk the track up at the high school, and I used to come up there every day with her 5 days a week and go hit the wall for 30 minutes and go shoot for 30 minutes. And I used to watch the varsity team at the high school while I was in middle school, and I just watched them practice, and I just became a lacrosse rat. the stick was in my hand all the time. And I realized that when the stick is in your hand all the time, you actually start getting really good at the game. So I got better with my stick skills. And then I always had, like I talked about, I had athleticism, and then just putting it all together. So eighth grade going into ninth grade, I played varsity. I wrestled freshman year at 112 pounds. So I was very undersized. 119 pounds. I was 119 pounds as a freshman. They stuck me. I played midi most of my career. They stuck me at attack. And I had a guy known as John Bersner. He was my ex-attackman that used to give me no-look feeds. And they used to mostly hit me in the face because I would never see him coming. So he used to keep me after practice every single day until I can catch his feeds, because he wanted to get his assist up. So he went on to go to Navy, had a stellar career at Navy, and they lost in the national championship against Syracuse and that year, which was a heartbreaker. But he was a stud at Navy. So I had him as a leader in high school, along with a bunch of other guys that I could mention. But that's kind of my lacrosse journey in high school. And then I got a scholarship to play at North Carolina. Was a two-time All-American there. I got the MVP trophy as a junior. And that was my dream school. Like I told you from the beginning, my first lacrosse stick was dyed with Carolina colors and the logo and everything like that. And being a big Michael Jordan fan, I think my biggest accolade at North Carolina is being able to wear the number 23 there. So that was amazing for me. And then I took years off of lacrosse, and then decided to get back and do it. I think 7 years after I graduated, I decided to make a run back to pro lacrosse, and the rest is history from there. I bounced around. I got cut. I didn't make teams, and then ended up winning a world title with the Denver Outlaws, which is probably the pinnacle of my career.
Oh, wow, Nick. Well, for starters, the support it sounds like you have from the get-go, it is amazing. You've got at a very, very early age, maybe a little bit of brainwashing that that happened, but then you're able to follow through, and there's like a prophecy of you playing at UNC, and you become the most valuable player your junior year, which I can imagine is pretty incredible. And you talked about the MLL Championship as something as a pinnacle. Are there any other huge moments that really stick out to you? I know you've already shared a couple.
When I say that the Denver Outlaws championship might have been the pinnacle, that was the pinnacle. It was literally one of the best days of my life. I can't say the best day of my life anymore because I just recently got married a month ago. So that is the best day of my life. But it's a close second for sure. I battled a lot of adversity to get back on the field. And, had ups and downs, fought through it, and, raising that trophy, the best, and I say this a lot in some interviews I've done in the past, the captains of the Denver Outlaws, Eric Law, Drew Schneider, and Matt Bocklett, handing me the trophy first after we won down in South Carolina, was literally the best moment of my life. Like, for them to acknowledge me and give me the trophy first was just, it was incredible. It was unreal.
Well, I know we've had a little bit more of a conversation to understand what adversity you're talking about. Can you share with the folks in Arizona what you mean by that?
Of course. So I stopped playing lacrosse because I went through some tragic things in life. So I stopped playing for 7 years. And it just wasn't a part. I didn't pick up a stick for 7 years. And then when I got back into coaching, I moved to California, got back into coaching, and fell in love with the game again. And to be honest, like, the game probably saved my life. So I owe a lot to this game. I'm not going to get emotional, but so the adversity I faced on the field was, first, I haven't played in 7 years, right? So I have to get back in shape, playing shape, and then I have to get up to game speed with these guys that, are younger than me and all that. I made a roster as a 30-year-old rookie. So I was 30 years old playing against a bunch of young kids right out of college. And I went to a tryout with 100 guys, and they only took 2. And I was luckily one of those guys. I proved myself at camp. I made the team, and then 44 games in, it was a dream come true. I made an MLL roster. That was what I wanted to do. So I played in 4 games. Unfortunately, the team was 0-4 at that time, and they had to make changes, and I got cut. And you know what? Rightfully so. They had to make some changes to start winning. They went on to win a championship that year, so it was even more painful for me to watch them, put the pieces together and make a run that year. And then I became obsessed with winning a championship. So I didn't let getting cut kind of, end my career. I just set my goals a little bit higher. Okay, now I made an MLL roster. Now my goal is to win a championship. So they invited me back the next year. I played all season with them. It was probably the best team I was on there. And then the last season, the last game of the season before playoffs, we're the #1 ranked team going into playoffs. Even before that last game, we're up in Rochester, New York. And I get in a weird ground ball scrum, and I break my wrist and tear every ligament in my wrist. So I pleaded with the surgeon for the Denver Broncos, and he shut me down. And it was the right decision. I mean, I pleaded on the phone with coaches and him for a week, and they made the right decision, shut me down. I could have lost use of my hand, and in my profession, that wouldn't be good. So I had to get surgery in the off season. I opted out of surgery because I wanted to come back one more season. I was close to retiring, but something pulled me back, saying you got one more year left in you. And I went back for 2018 season, went through the whole season, and then workers' comp called because I didn't get surgery, and they said they're going to close my case. And I told them that they can't because I probably need surgery after season. I was duct taping it up before every game. You could see me holding up the trophy. You could see the rolls of tape that I used for my wrist. And so I played all year, and we're battling to get a spot, the last spot for playoffs. And we're playing who are we playing? We're playing down in Atlanta, the Blaze, and we had to win to get in that game. And I had to go to my surgeon to see, to get x-rays and keep the workers' comp claim open. He came into the room, and was like, I got good news. Your break from last year healed. He goes, you broke your wrist in another spot. So I'm not going to say I threatened him, but I'm going to tell you that I told him that conversation wouldn't leave that room because I'm playing, and I'll be in his office and getting surgery the day after we win a championship. We ended up winning in Atlanta, and then, you know, we won our first round of playoffs against Chesapeake, and then we went to the championship against the Rattlers, who beat us twice that year. We ended up coming out with the W, and then I got surgery a week after we won the championship.
And I think for everyone who has battled injuries or battled challenges in their life, they can relate to this. And Tom Starja talks about leaders have scars. And I just keep on going back to that because this conversation is about leadership, and you have to have battled adversity, be able to relate to individuals, because no one has a perfect life, no matter what it looks like from the outside. So being able to share and connect really helps to empathize. I'd love to hear, Nick, what's your definition of leadership?
So my motto is fail fast, persevere, and then persevere with passion and patience. Like you said, adversity builds character. Leadership is not, in my opinion, leadership is not learned in a day or a week or a month or anything like that. It's failing over and over and over, and then getting back up and trying to lead again, learning from your mistakes and getting better as you go. Once you stop learning, I don't think you can become a better leader. So I've been in different leadership roles my whole life. In a team leadership role, it's about getting a group of men or a group of women together on the same page, all willing to do whatever it takes for a common goal, right? So I always talk about the locker room. The Denver Outlaws locker room I miss it more than anything in the world. The guys that were in that locker room, the amount of different characters we had in that locker room, but the way we interacted and how we all were just together for one goal was just something I never seen throughout my whole entire career. I never won anything in high school. We never won a championship in high school. We never won anything at Carolina. So that was my first time really seeing leadership, not just from the captains, but it trickled down from the top guys to the guys that, like me, were just I'm a D midi, right? And I'm not saying that I'm not putting that position down, because I think it's one of the hardest positions on the field. But, like, I did my job. Like, I wanted to win, so I didn't have to do anything extra. I didn't have to do, I had to pull my weight. And when everyone believes in what they're doing for the common goal, I think things come together. You do your job, everyone else does their job, and good things happen from that. And you don't have to be on the most talented team. It's more about that locker room. So that's what I think. And then on another thing of leadership, I think you got to lead by example. I would never demand something from my teammate. So I've gotten in my teammates' faces. We've had arguments, on the field, off the field, in the locker room, but I never demand anything that I wouldn't do myself. So whatever, I pride myself on being the hardest worker on the field. I'm diving, I'm hitting, I'm picking up ground balls. I'm doing all the little things that many people, like a lot of people, don't want to do. But I think you just got to lead by example. You got to every sprint, don't come up short of that line. Don't cut corners. Don't miss workouts. Don't miss practices. And actually, I have a really good story if I share with you.
Please do. Yes.
So at Carolina, I missed one practice in my career. And I missed that practice because I was burnt out and I needed a break. And I told my coach that I had a study hall, or I had to do some, I lied to him, but like I just was so burnt out, and that's not me. Like, I was the first one in the locker room, the last one to leave. Like, that was my MO. And this one day I just didn't want to go to practice. So I called coach. I told him I had study hall, or I had an exam to make up or something like that. And Coach Roy Williams comes to practice and speaks to the team that day. So Roy Williams, the legendary basketball coach, he just retired. He comes and speaks to the team. So I'm at home, and all the guys come home, smiling ear to ear, saying it was the best practice they've ever had. Coach Roy Williams had this big speech. They got more pumped up for that practice than they did in previous games. And I'm just sitting there like, this is why you don't miss practice. And So, I mean, I don't know where that goes into it, but I just, that sticks in the back of my mind. So from then on, I mean, I'll never miss a practice. I'll never miss a weight room session. I'll never miss a speed workout. Like, you just get up, you do it, because you never know what you're going to miss.
There's something about that accountability, commitment to an overall goal, and missing something like that can obviously have a big impact on your life. So now it's telling others, don't do the same, like make sure you hit everything.
Don't do it.
And I do want to ask a little bit more about Nick. You talk about the fact that that Denver Outlaw team was something special. The locker room was a group of guys that put everything on the line. How can you impact culture for a team? If we're talking to our middle schoolers, high schoolers, college kids, what can they do to embrace a positive culture or start changing culture?
That's a loaded question for sure. I think culture is one of the hardest things as a coach to build. I think you have to get a group of guys to first believe in the process and believe in you as a leader and a coach. And I think that trickle down effect brings everybody into that culture. I think that's the hardest thing to do, though, is you get 5 to 6 guys. This is how I've found success with team building and building culture is get 6 guys to outwork and do the things that guys aren't willing to do, and people start noticing it. People are very visual, and people, when they see 5, 6 guys busting tail every day, and then, you know, instead of coming from one leader, if it's coming from 6 guys or 4 or whatever, a group of guys, I think you're going to get a better, you know, turnout of more guys doing the same thing. And I think, you know, step by step, one guy turns over and you just build that culture from the ground up. But I think it's important to really get 5 or 6 leaders, even if they're not named captain or anything like that, but just, you know, do the little things day in and day out. Show up early, get guys to show up early with you, get guys to, you know, stay after practice and shoot, get guys together to go get some dinner and watch film if you're a defensive guy. Just the little things like that, building that team camaraderie, and then doing a little bit of the extra, right? What are our opponents doing? Whatever they're doing, I want to do that, and I want to do more, because when we play them, I know in the back of my head I did more than my opponents, and that right there, when you step on that field, you already know that you're ahead.
Now, is that what you're preaching in your business with Athletics Choice, or how do you go about training the kids that come into your facility to ultimately be the best athletes, be the best versions, and go on to be successful players?
It's a very good question. So the dynamic of leadership changes, I think, with teams, and then I'm in like a private sector now. So I'm doing more small group training and private training. So there's not a locker room. There's not it's not a culture. It's more just, it's building, it's teaching life lessons through sports is our motto, right? So there's a bigger picture, especially with everything that we've been through the last year or so with COVID and everything. I've been seeing a lot of kids not be able to express their frustrations on the field. So they have these inner dialogues with themselves, and in some ways they're a little bit down in the dumps. So teaching them that control what you can control now, so when you do return to play, you are way above and beyond the rest of the field, right? But honestly, I've been finding myself sitting down and just talking with the kids more. Right. So instead of being skill development, skill development is great. And statistics when you get back to the field and working on your skill and your craft is great. But also you got to work on your mental side of it too. So I think just sitting down, listening to them, what they're going through. I think what helps me as a coach in that sector is I've been through mostly everything. I've been through the life struggles. I've been through the adversity. I've been through broken bones and sitting out and sitting out championship games and building a culture at the college level and never winning a championship until 32 years old. I had to wait. Like I've been playing this game for, I've been playing and coaching this game for 25 years now, 25 plus years. I mean, I had to wait 23 plus years to get that championship. But what did I do? I just controlled what I can control. I you know, I worked on my skill. I worked on my strength and conditioning. I did my speed. I started working on my mental preparation, watching film, anything that gave me an edge is what I started working on. And honestly, that's why I say foul fast, persevere with passion and patience, because patience, everything is instant gratification these days. And that's not how it works. You have to work your tail off day in and day out and get 1% better every single day. And hopefully down the road, you know, you're going to build those blocks until you're sitting on top of the throne. And then once you're on top of the throne, you got to work harder because you want to stay there.
You got a target on your back as well at that point. And I know we shot some messages back and forth about that. It's that 1% better. We do what others are not doing, and that takes an ordinary life to extraordinary. And that's what this is all about, is being able to dictate what we want to do. I think coaches and captains and leaders, they have an idea of what's possible that the rest of the team doesn't necessarily know. And that ability to communicate and engage and inspire is truly remarkable. And I love this mantra, fail fast, follow through with passion and patience, because like you said, everything we see is, can I get a like, can I get a heart, whatever this is on Instagram or social, but that's not how life works. We look at successful programs, successful teams. It takes a lot of foundation, and there's a reason we talk about recognizing the skills you gain from lacrosse, because it takes time to get those, but then ultimately you have a platform to be able to ultimately step higher and higher. Can you talk a little bit more about the daily practices that you take, or that you have your teammates or the folks that you coach take in order to be the best versions of themselves?
So let me backtrack for a second, because I just want to talk about another thing that I do in the private sector with like private training and small group training is I'm super tough on my kids. I'm gonna dish it out like real life, right? We're teaching life lessons through sport. We can't baby them, because when they do go through adversity, they're gonna run into that. However, I believe in more. What they do know is that I love them, and they do know that I believe in them more than sometimes they believe in themselves. And the reason why I'm so hard on them, so like I'll be hard on them during a session. I'll see them, you know, break down a little bit, but I always I always communicate with them after why I'm so hard on them, because they're shorting themselves by messing around or doing this. So I bring them back to, hey, look, I see you being here, but you're settling for this, and that's something I can't let them do. So transitioning into your question, there is, it's going to be different for everybody. However they prepare. If you go into a locker room, you see guys, you know, head first in the locker, and they don't want to be taught. They're getting in their own zone. They have their headphones on. They're there, and then other guys are joking around and messing around and keeping it loose. Some other guys are working on their sticks or taping their sticks. Everyone has a different routine. I've been trialing error my routine forever. One thing that's working for me right now, and one thing I didn't pay attention to in my earlier career is stretching. I wake up and I stretch right away. I stretch for about 25 minutes, and I honestly can't tell you, my body has never felt better. So that's a routine for me. Nutrition is another thing that I've had to dial in, because, you know, when I was younger, I was able to eat whatever I could. If I knew what I know now, man, I would have had it dialed in, you know, and maybe some more championships. You never know. But I think you trial error things, right? You got to look at it this way. What I tell my kids now is all right, if that kid can do 20 minutes of wall ball a day and be an amazing player, and you might not have the same gift as him, are you willing to do 40 minutes a day to be as good or better than him, right? So I think everyone has a different skill set. I think knowing your skill set, what you're going to bring to teams, and then working on that, right? Being honest with yourself. I knew that as a 30-year-old rookie, I wasn't going to come back and start on an offense with guys that were MLL, you know, all pros, right? I knew that my athleticism, and I can play defense because I was a two-way midi at Carolina. My defensive midi was my way to get in. And then I took that role, and that's my training completely changed from shooting all the time to working on speed work and opening up my hips and doing different things. So I think being honest with yourself, and then little things, like you don't have to change a million things. You have to change one thing, trial it, error it, see if it works. If it works, keep it. If it doesn't, throw it out and try another thing. And then just, over time, you kind of dial that process in, and you see the rewards down the road.
There's extreme accountability in that. If with being honest with yourself, you can say if you're really giving it your all or not, or if you're setting right expectations. And we also need coaches for that to help us understand and boost us up. But if you're able to be honest and have those tough conversations, they're going to happen. So might as well face them head on and say, okay, this is reality. How can we change? How can we make something else happen? Which I appreciate you bringing up. And Nick, I'm just looking at the clock. Do you have any last thoughts or anything you'd like to add to this conversation so far?
I mean, what I'll bring up is what I'm going through right now. So I just had a call with a PLL coach, and I'm not going to training camp this year. I've been working my tail off for the last year. I didn't get that call. I might, I'm still on his drawing board. I'm high on his list. I mean, does it stink? Yeah, it's terrible, but I'm not going to sit and dwell about it. I'm going to continue to work. And if I get that phone call to play again, I'm going to be ready. I'm not going to not be ready. So I think, like we just talked about a story of adversity and getting to the top, and I was at the top, and then now I'm back in fighting mode. Right. So I gotta do everything in my power. So what did I do in the off season? I knew that I'm older, right? I'm 35 years old. The PLL is the fastest we've ever seen in the game. What do I have to do to keep up with that speed? I hired an NFL cornerbacks coach, right? So I was working with some of the combine guys that all got drafted in the recent NFL combine. So I went through an NFL pro day with Coach Pagano, who used to be the Colts coach. I did all these things, and these are guys that just fresh out of college going to the NFL. They're the most athletic people in the world, right? I did that. I did acupuncture. I went to a neck specialist because my back was a little jacked up. All these little things that I didn't do because I have to play at a high level if I get that call. I didn't get that call yet, but I'm going to be ready when I do and if I do.
Nick, that's the right mindset, and you sharing that perspective is so powerful. So thank you for being vulnerable with us and sharing what you're up to, because that's what I think leadership is as well, is saying life isn't perfect, but I have these goals and I'm going to do all the little things regardless what the outcomes are, because you're controlling what you can control. And that's what we need to do with our lives. So Nick, thank you so much for taking the time, sharing your story. We're excited to see what ultimately happens with you and all the kids you're coaching. This has been an awesome conversation, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.